Golf fans, welcome to another episode of Podcast in Regulation. I'm your host RP, and today is Wednesday, October 8th. As usual, please follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Pod in Regulation. Facebook fan page is Podcast in Regulation, and as always, if you'd like to reach out through email, it's podcastinregulation@gmail.com. So, got a couple weeks to catch up on the Kroger Queen City along with the BMW Championship, and then the following week was the Walmart Northwest Arkansas Championship and the Open de France. Problem with the Northwest, you all saw it, it got rained out. It literally washed itself out, figuratively and literally. It was just too much weather to contend with, a lot of standing water, and pretty much completely unplayable conditions. So the only money I really lost on that one was the first round leader bet, which obviously turned out first round leader was also your quote unquote leader for the tournament and winner of the tournament. Becomes I think they called it a non-sanctioned event because it didn't qualify or fall under the guidelines of what needs to be considered a tournament. So it ended pretty quickly, even though we were all holding out hope, especially the end of the second day. It looked like there maybe had a chance to open up with the weather and get some play in, but they just decided not to. And I don't blame them. There was a lot of thunder. More importantly, it was just a torrential rain, so that wasn't going to happen on any level. And then this week we're going to have the Buick LPGA Shanghai to look at, as well as I believe it's the Open de Espana for the DP World Tour side. I'm probably going to stay away from the PGA Tour this week, but that doesn't mean we are running on any sort of shortage on bets that we can put in this week. So getting right into it, entering the week of the Kroger Queen City and the BMW Championship, our record is 64-172. And the bankroll is sitting at $1,018.21. So for the Kroger Queen City, the top 10s, I only hit one out of the four. We had Andrea Lee, she finishes T19. Aki Iwai misses the cut completely, and the one we did cash on here was Lottie Wode. She was a plus 160, only had $4.50 on it, but she did win me $11.70. And then I also missed on Adidia Shook. She misses the cut. And then for the top 5 predictions I had put out, Nelly Corda, $8 for a plus 333. That was a hit. She finishes right on the number, T5. It's a $34.64 payout. And then the 2 misses on this one were the Rio Takeda she finishes T38, and then Lydia Ko, T14. And then we did hit our 2 round ball bets. We had Nelly Corda, took her at a plus 150 for $9.75 versus Rosang versus Lottie Wode, and that ended up paying out $24.38. And then the other three ball first round day was Rio Takeda at plus 140. $10 bet versus Heiran Ryu and Hannah Green. She easily finishes that off. She won us $24. And then for the BMW Championship, we had a top 40 for Adrian Sadier. He finishes second. So the $5.25 bet at plus 125 ended up getting us $11.81. The other bet I had in this category was Andy Sullivan. I mean, so up and down. He misses the cut outright, so that was kind of a goner. In even the same odds as Adrian Sadier. And then we had top 30 bets of Angel Arroyo. That was a miss. And Jordan Smith at $9 plus 145. That was a hit. It was $22.05 returned to us. Then I hit 2 top 20s. I hit Minwoo Lee at plus 320 for $8. He finishes T11. I actually thought he was going to finish higher. He had 2 fantastic days to start the tournament. The payout for him was $33.60. And then Harry Hall finishes T13. It was an $11.25 bet at plus 170. So he returned us $30.38. And last bet on the page was John Rahm finishing in the top 10. Had one, I don't know if it was a bad day. It was a bad day for him, but he never really played poorly. Just wasn't enough. He had a couple people come from behind and pass him on the final day. He finishes T13, so lost out $13 there, but honestly, it was an even payout. So at the end of this week, it was an 8-8 record, pushes us to 72 and 180. The on the table amount for this week was $137 with a payout of $192.52, meaning we made $55.56 this week. So got the bankroll up a little bit, enough for the week after. So that sits at $1,073.77. So going back to what I had mentioned with the Walmart Northwest Arkansas Championship, the top 10s and top 5s were void. They even gave me back the juice, so that was fine. So really where I lost money was the first round leader. It was a $5 bet on each of the 4 that you saw on there: Mao Saigo, Miyu Yamashita, Shizato Iwai, and Menunda Roy. So that was $20 down the drain, but it wasn't horrible. Came back with a little bit with the Open de France. We had top 40 finishes for Elvis Smiley, Brooks Koepka, Wenyi Ding, and Ding was the one who finishes 52nd, so missed there. But Elvis Smiley finishes solo second, so a $6 bet at plus 120 ended up throwing back $13.20 back into our pocket. Brooks Koepka finished solo fourth, $14.50 for the bet, and it was only a plus 105, but you'll take it for a $29.73 payout. And then missed both my top 30s for Keita Nakajima, finishes 49th, and Laurie Cancer. That was really disappointing. Sandwiched between 2 great rounds of 68 and 66. He finished the 4th round at 73 and started off with a 74. So he had a lot of work to do just to come back, and he just missed it. So take either one of those. We're looking at another good win, but well, what can you do with him? He's not as bad as probably Andy Sullivan has been for me this year, picking on the right sides or wrong sides when I leave him off a bet sheet. Not quite as up and down as Joost Luiten when I take him and he absolutely blows up in my face, but what can you do? Top 20s, Minwoo Lee at $19.25. It was a plus 145 payout. Finishes 5th, and that return was $47.16. Missed the John Perry bet. He misses the cut outright. And then missed the 2 top 10 selections that I had made. Corey Connors, plus 175. So everyone thought that certainly could make some noise in that range, but he finishes 70th. And then Harry Hall, who, I mean, talk about EKG monitor with the ups and downs and how jagged that looks in terms of if you were to chart him week to week. He was a miscut. So that kind of finished me off there. So this week for the LPGA and Open de France combination, finished 3 and 7. So final record coming into this week is going to be 75 and 187. The on the table for this week was $129.50. Payout $137.25. So I made $7.75. So coming into this week, you're looking at $1,081.52 to play with. All right, let's see. What do we have on the docket first? Let's start off with the Buick LPGA in Shanghai. So I believe they tee off at about 3 a.m. my time, so I'll definitely get to catch some when I wake up, but certainly won't be up by the time they do tee off for this tournament at the Cuizong Garden Golf Club. It's been home for this tournament since, I think, I have to look at it, 2018. So it's been there for a bit already. The biggest problem as of right now is looking at some of the pictures that are coming out from the practice rounds and some of the media photos where I'm not quite sure if that's diseased grass that I'm looking at or if I'm looking at too much watering. I have no idea, but looks a little rough and it looks quite uneven. So I'm not quite sure what they're planning to do with this, how they plan to fix it or remedy this, but Leona Maguire posted up a close-up of the 18th green on Instagram, and it's pretty ugly. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not even going to speculate, but for me it looks diseased or it could have been overwatered, and yeah, I don't know. Those are my best guesses. I don't think it's dry. I highly doubt that's going to be the problem, but I'm sure they're going to put some really big work hours in coming into this, and especially since they have less than 12-ish hours before they are set to tee off. So we'll see what it looks like probably when I wake up tomorrow and catching some highlights as well as catch some of the live play. But I'm hoping that some of what she posted is not what it's going to look like when they actually get into it. But looking at this, you're looking at Ruining Yin being the defending champ. I'm not sure if I'm ready to back her. She's had some decent tournaments this year, but overall statistics are fine, just nothing to really write home about. And even worse, I don't think this sets up for her, or as best to look at it. I don't know if this matches up with her either as of right now. I think if she's going to be on the uptick, it's going to be a couple more weeks. And obviously there isn't a whole lot of time left in the season, but there isn't anything that tells me, or there were no indicators so far that would make me want to back her on many things. Maybe a 3-ball, maybe first round leader, something like that. But whether or not she can maintain that, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that I would put money on that. So I'm just essentially going to stay away from it. I really am looking at Ginu in the top 10 category. It seems like easy money. She's minus 163, and that's not horrible, but I wouldn't mind loading up on that number and taking a shot of the lesser payout, but something that may seem to be a bit more guaranteed. I say that and watch what happens, but that's where my head's going. It's par 72. It's about 6,700 yards, so we're looking at 4 par 3s, 10 par 4s, and 4 par 5s. So with this, when I was looking at some of the previous years, previous seasons, you have a winning score average of about 14 under. And last year, Ruining Yin went 25 under. Looking at these greens and potential lower conditions, being nice with the description of this course, I don't think it'll be 25 under winning, but I think you're still probably looking at 18 to 19. I think it'll play enough of a factor, but I still think that people are going to score on this course. For the most part, it's been a flat type of landscape. They've worked on getting some of the fairways with a little bit of that runoff, a little bit more of that undulating feeling as you are coming down for your approach. But they have tried to add some elevation throughout. Quite a few trees, but at the same time, it's pretty spacious. You're going to be able to pick your spots, and even if you are a little wayward with a tee shot or even a secondary shot into those par 5s, you shouldn't be in too much trouble unless you actually hit the tree. But from everything you're looking at and all the previews, there are trees, but they shouldn't cause too much trouble unless you are absolutely horrific with your accuracy off the tee. And then there's a few water holes. I think only, 11 of them come into play, but it's really going to be the final 4 that are going to get you. So that's where you probably could see some fireworks, could see some scores go really low, people taking advantage. You probably can see a little bit or quite a few swings in terms of scoring if someone were to find a little bit of a hazard here or there and someone just play clean par, even finishing off. And then they are going to be running slow, which I'm not sure what to make of those pictures of that grass. They're going to be running predicted at 10.5. So that's going to be interesting watching some of that. I don't think a lot of the tournaments we get to see on TV are ever that slow. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these players adjust and how well they take on some of the long lag putts that are going to be in front of them. So I think that'll play a part eventually and probably throughout the course of a tournament. But the bigger stats are going to be approaches, greens in regulation, and off the tee. Like I said, it's fairly wide open, even though there are some trees and some hazards. But overall, you can get around the course without having to navigate too many of the dangers of what they tried to put in. I think that even with Ruining Yin not playing as well as she is, if I could, I might take her top 20. So if you could find her out there, whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel or any of those other books, I'm going with 365 this week because I just want to be able to put all my deposits, or excuse me, I just want to be able to put all the bets in one spot. So that'll be combined with everything that I throw in for the DP World Tour on that. And then kind of a correlating tournament that people are looking at when I'm looking at predictions and previews is the Arkansas Championship, the Pinnacle Country Club. Same type of risk reward / layout with a little bit of the undulations. That has been around for a while. They haven't had to manicure it or kind of correct what was there before. That's always been that slopey and that elevated in certain spots, whereas they did try to create a little bit more of an obstacle for this, mainly because, like I had mentioned, when you have Ruining Yin come in at 25 under last year and average winners around 14 under, solid, but there have been some years that they have really let up some big scores and allowed people to go really low. So let's take a look at some of these percentages, numbers, and some of the fades and faves that I have marked down. Alright, so let's touch on the faves and fades. Fades we're going to start off with because it's a pretty short list, but there are going to be some familiar names that that I've bet on over the last, 7-8 months for the season. Last week, picked Jenny Bay, or 2 weeks ago, sorry. She did well for me. I am fading her this week along with Rio Takeda. That's a surprise for anything, but looking at everything up until this point and current, I don't think I can bet on her inside of the top 10. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's not so much that I think she'll underperform or play poorly. I just think this may be one of the weeks where she may not fall within the top 10, so can't put my money there. Arya Jaitanargarn has had a very good year, solid season, but I don't think even with this somewhat thinned out crowd and field, I don't think she'll end up in the top 10. So again, me fading someone like this, and including the first two that I mentioned on this list, it's not so much that I can't count on them, it's that I can't count on them to finish in as far as the top 10. So that's a hard part about saying that I'm leaving them off the list, and not only leaving them off, I'm saying I'm fading them. It's just not a position where I think I can find myself comfortable enough knowing I'm putting money on them. And then Ruining Yin, kind of already announced my position on her earlier. Just not quite here. I know she's a defending champ. I know she's had a couple top 2 finishes this year, but she's coming off of 2 missed cuts coming into this as well over the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. And Minji Lee. I'm not sure where she stands exactly. I know she's technically second in terms of favorites, but the way it stands, I feel like there may be even some locals and some of the exemptions that may play better and also put them in a position to contend, or at the very least knock her name down the list. And again, going by example of this list already, knocking her potentially out of the top 10. So it's not a position that I can bet on her with any sort of confidence. Now, for all the names listed, I could very well still put money on them in terms of 3-ball or first round leader, but sustainability, these names, I'm definitely staying away from in that sense. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about top finishes. And then faves for me, it's going to be Miyu Yamashita. As usual, every single tournament this year for the most part, Gino Tirokon. They had Jennifer Kupcho, who seems to be on an uptick. I think she's kind of in the middle of it. She hasn't made a lot of noise, but she's certainly played well enough to be noticed, finishing top 20s, top 10s, couple 15s, and then it looks like it's on the trend, and she's found a good part of the year to kind of pick it up. Then we have Minami Katsu Nasaharaoka. We hadn't said her name a lot except for the fades this year, but it looks like she may be turning a corner. Looks like she may have found a little something, some consistency more than anything else, and I just like how she's rounding into form at this moment. So she's definitely on the list. And then Heijin Choi, who has been pretty decent for me overall through the course of this year, but she's kind of middled for the most part, which has kept me away from really betting on her, just like I did last year in the top 10s and even in some of those 3-balls on a regular, even first round leaders. But here she is, she makes the faves list this week. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. Going to put in my prop bets for the LPGA Buick Shanghai, prop bets and top finishes. And then tomorrow I'm probably going to add a little segment here where we're going to go 10 to 15 minutes discussing DP World Tour in the Espana. But what we're going to do is not take any preliminary picks, so no top finishes, no finishing positions or prop bets today for it to kick off tonight. But I will have a little segment tomorrow where we'll be doing some live betting, and you'll see the picks up first. That'll always come first, so that I don't have to edit it and you're waiting on picks. But you'll see them live go up. You'll see them go up live on Instagram and on Twitter and even the Facebook fan page, and we'll go from there. You'll get a little bit of my rundown of that tournament, but I'm not going to go into depth with them this week. I'm just going to throw a bunch of live bet money on them and see where that goes. Haven't done enough of that this year, but I feel like I have time tomorrow, so that's the direction we're going to go. So I guess to finish this off and round it out, we're going to go with the first round 3-ball set. We're going Arya Jutanugarn, taking her at plus 130. So even though she's on my fades, I'm taking her in round 1. But it is against Gabby Lopez and Esther Henseleit. I feel like that should be a fairly decent and easy match for her. So that's probably going to be easy takedown. If anything, I'm imagining she goes, 1 or 2 under par, and the other two are probably right around even or 1 or 2 over even. And then we're going with first round 3-ball Ginu Thirikul at plus 137 versus Minji Lee and versus Roning Yin. So I feel like that's pretty solid. Minji could threaten day 1, but again, if I'm going with the gut, I think Gino should have an overall solid tournament, with Minji kind of getting pushed down by some of the more familiar faces for this golf course. Whether you know them or I know them, that'd be a whole different story. But truth be told, looks like historically there always been a couple names to kind of shoot up that leaderboard and wreak a little havoc, if anything, and just kind of throw a bit of a monkey wrench in your plans of having someone finish in the top 5 or top 10. And then as for finishing positions, we're taking Gino in the top 10, minus 163, Jennifer Kupcho at plus 240, and then we're going with top 5s of Nasa Haraoka at plus 250, as well as Heijin Choi finishing top 5 for plus 260. You'll see all the breakdowns of the bets probably soon. I'm gonna edit this, but first the picks are probably gonna go up, and then you'll hear from me tomorrow with the breakdown of my live bets. But again, you'll see the bets go up first so that you can follow along. Whether you bet on it, I don't know. Whether you fade me, that'll be your opportunity to catch it early. But as always, guys, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Pod and Regulation. You'll see those picks go up live tomorrow, as well as the Facebook fan page. Again, not some betting professional. As you can tell, I've pretty much middled the entire year. Had some really low lows. I think I got down to as much as 800 in the bankroll and got it all the way back up to where we at 1018. So hopefully this week he'll show up a little bit more in the winners column, maybe not even record-wise, just in terms of the money, and then throwing in a couple of the live bets with the DP World Tour, and maybe even a couple with the PGA Tour. We'll see how that goes. But as always, check that out, follow me, and no on the clock this week. We're just going to jump out of this and get ready for the next and prep for tomorrow. Guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you later. Again, I'm RP. I'm your host for Podcast and Regulation. You all have a good one. Good luck this week. Good luck this weekend, especially if you are throwing more money other than just golf on all the NFL games and all the college football games. Oh, and of course, playoff baseball. But yeah, you guys have a good one. I will talk to you tomorrow, and then we'll recap next week. But check out those picks. I'll see you later.